Welcome to the Real Men Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Melvin Smith, and I am joined by my three co-hosts, Stephen Polson, Orlando Hudson, and Donald Bell. This is a podcast where you just got four brothers just sitting up here talking about life, discussing what is going on, discussing our lives and how we can better help our listeners and even each other. You know, really and truly, this is about just four brothers just helping out one another as well. So how y'all doing, fellas?
Doing great, man.
Blessed.
That's good, man. We've been doing a couple of episodes. Our last episode was about sacrifice and everything. And if you all haven't heard that, please pull it up. You can definitely get some nuggets out of what we were talking about. As a matter of fact, I go back to it myself just to listen to it and see what's all of the nuggets that my four brothers or my three brothers has been sharing. So that's a good thing. But today's topic is a very interesting one. And the question for today's topic is, what advice would you give the 20 to 25-year-old you? All right. Mm-hmm. If you, we've had the privilege of living, a full life. I'm 50 now. So what would I tell my 25-year-old self, with the advantage of having some experience on my side now? What would I tell me? What would I say, man, you look out for this. Make sure you do this. Please don't go there. So there you go, fellas. The topic is out there. What's up? What would you share with the 25-year-old yourself?
Wow. It's ironic because literally right before I came in to tape, my son and I, there's a special on Netflix where they're documenting the Malice at the Palace when the Ron Artest and all those cats, they had to fight with the fans in the stands and all that whole thing. And my son was talking to me and he asked me, he was like, what would you have done in that type of a situation? And I was saying to him how the lens in which I view the world and in situations and scenarios now at 48 is so different than how I would have viewed it at 20 or 25. Right. 20 to 25-year-old Don would have been right there in the stands, defending Ron Artest, going blow for blow with one of the fans, the whole nine. But fast forward to 48-year-old Don, who thinks about, what is my son going to think? What are the legal ramifications? What does this mean? What does this do? What is this? If I do this, what is this going to do for me financially? I'm Ron Artest, I get suspended for the whole season. So now that's millions of dollars in income that now I can't get back, And so I said all that to say, I would tell the 25-year-old me to just understand that your world is bigger than what is happening in the moment. Mm. Because when we are younger, we are so caught up into what is happening in the moment, and it guides and it steers all of our decision making based on what is happening right now, versus us not taking the time to consider what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's on all levels, from a health perspective, financially, relationships, the whole nine. So for me, it's really just, I would tell the younger version of me to just think about viewing things from a broader perspective and not just getting so caught up in today, because actions have consequences, decisions have consequences. Whatever you say yes to is definitely going to manifest. Whatever you say no to that's going to manifest too.
Right.
And so understanding what that looks like, life is not just about what's happening in the moment, but it's about what's going to happen down the line. View life as playing chess versus playing checkers. 25-year-old Don was playing checkers. It was just about somebody's trying to jump me, so I'm going to jump them first before they jump me. Versus in a chess game, you got to think about 6 or 7 moves down the line. It's not just about this being having so much tunnel vision, that if that makes sense. So
yeah,
just looking at things from a different lens. And it was funny, I was literally having this conversation before I walked into to tape tonight.
wow. I would add to that. I would tell the 25-year-old me that every decision you make has a lifespan. Okay. Every decision you make, it is going to you're going to have to deal with the consequences. For you, there's some decisions you may not have to pay for, or pay the consequences for that long. But there are other decisions that you make that is going to have a huge effect on your life. And so if you want to do certain things, you want to go certain places, and you want to have these kind of chances for different things, think about everything you do before you do and say anything. As a matter of fact, when I was going to the Navy, the day before I left, my dad had a talk with me, and he said, son, whatever you do, before you do anything, before you say anything, think about it. And I use that to this very day, because there's a lot of people that say the first thing that comes to their mind. They do the first thing that come to their head, and they're paying for that. They're paying for those kind of consequences, and you just got to be very, very careful, because every decision you make, it has a certain lifespan to it. And some decisions is not going to hurt you that much, but there are other decisions that you're definitely going to have to pay for long down the road.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Anybody else want to add on?
Man, I'm sitting here pondering. I got so much that I would say to young 25-year-old. I think I would start out by telling him that you're about to have a daughter in a few months, and it's going to change everything you thought you knew about life. It's going to bring to remembrance a lot of things that you've heard your parents, your grandparents say, your aunts and uncles, a lot of the life lessons you've been taught. I would tell him to slow down, give space and time for consultation with God in every decision that you make regarding your life, regarding her life, because you're responsible for it. It's not just you anymore. You have someone that every decision you make, it affects her life. But then I would also tell him that you're going to make, even though I'm telling you to make God a part of your decision-making process, I need you to understand that you're going to make decisions after decisions after decisions without consulting God. As you just got finished talking about, Melvin, because of those knee-jerk reactions, because people do things without taking the time to think. Prisons are filled today with people that wish they had 30 seconds of time back.
Yep,
10 seconds or 15 seconds of time back. And I would let him know that you're going to make decisions without giving God that time and giving him that space. And it's okay. It's okay because you've had a solid foundation that's been laid for you. And he knew God knew that you were going to make those decisions. He knew that there was going to be those moments, and he sent his son to stand in that gap for you. I would tell him, oh, you're going to mess up, man. You are going to mess up a lot. You're going to feel so much guilt at times that heaven is not, don't feel realistic for you. You're going to think that it's not an option for you. It's your mistakes, your decision making is going to cause you to become idle at times. You're going to lose so much time in life just standing still, that you're never going to be able to recapture and get that time back. And you're going to carry crosses that weren't meant for you to cross. That weren't meant for you to carry. I'm sorry. You're going to carry crosses on your back that wasn't meant for you to carry, man. You're going to carry things for periods of time that was meant for Christ to carry for you. And you're not going to understand that. And that's why I'm telling him, I would be telling him that I would let him know that, Don, you hit on something when you said yes and no. Yes and no are two of the most powerfulest words in the English language. But it is two of the words that is the most taken for granted. We don't understand the power and the ability to say yes, the power and the ability to say no. But there's power in those. And just to drive that point home, and I'll give it over to Steve, I went through some training back in 2011 through 2012. And we went to a group home, and it was for behavioral health. And when we went in that morning, the director came in and he spoke with the group. It was a group of about, I would say, 30 to 35. And he said, we work when our residents come here. Most of our residents that come here, they're here for life. They can't take care of themselves. They can't survive in a world without help. And the first thing we do, the first thing we want to give our residents is the ability to say yes and to say no, whether it's through a head nod, whether it's through blinking your eyes, whether it's through tapping your shoulder or moving your right hand or left hand, because giving them the ability to say yes or no opens up a world of options. The one thing that I would say to 25-year-old, it's not only does the ability to say yes and no opened up a world of options, but it also can take away a world of options. And then at the end of it, I would say, listen, man, every decision you make, God is going to use it to be a blessing to others. Every decision, every lesson that you learn, everything that you grow through, God is going to use it for you to be able to enable you to grow other people. So don't beat yourself up too bad when you make those decisions, because things don't look so bad at 50.
Wow,
man, you hit something when you said you would encourage the young O to understand that he is going to make mistakes, and that resonated with me, because I think so much in my thinking back in the day, I was so afraid of failing and making the wrong decision that I would stay stuck and frozen and make no decision. And having the understanding that most people that are successful, or that we would categorize as successful or wealthy or whatever, failed their way to success. Their first company didn't take off. Their first investment didn't go through the roof. Some people went bankrupt before they became billionaires. And I would stress to the younger me to just not get so stuck in fear of failure that it traps your ability to move, because you can stay stuck out of fear of making the wrong decision, and that be the wrong decision.
not making any decision. I think that's one of Steve's favorite lines is you failed. Don't you say you fell your way to the top?
All the way to the top.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have done it. I'm still doing it. Yeah. Wow. Great stuff.
You all, as I was listening to you all, and there's so many things that we let me ask you this. Would your 25-year-old self listen to the information that you are giving them? You got all this experience and you're going back to your 25-year-old self. Would you listen to you?
Sadly, probably not. I mean, if I'm just gonna keep it a buck, I wouldn't, because they were older men. My father and others that tried to put me up on game or whatever. That I just didn't listen to. So it wasn't, the lens that I look through the world now, somebody was trying to school me on it 20, 25 years ago or whatever. So I would encourage my younger self to listen to the wisdom that's given. But 20 to, like, I would say 25-year-old Don, he kind of thought he knew it. He thought he knew it. And so, yeah, sadly, no, but I probably definitely should have, but possibly no.
I think the 25-year-old O would have listened, because a lot of the mistakes that I made were fresh mistakes that no one told me there's a pothole that particular pothole is around the corner. And if you step around that corner reckless, you're going to destroy an ankle, a knee. Be careful going around that corner. I took advice. I would listen to older counsel at 25. I think I had started to settle down at that age where I would have listened to advice. But even still, there was mistakes that I made that my brothers wasn't making, or if they did make them, I wasn't aware that they were making them. That my old man had made, my uncle had made. So yeah, I think the 25-year-old O would have been receptive to the 50-year-old O.
All right, Steve.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah,
you're good. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
You brought that Billy D back to us.
The 25-year-old, the 20-year-old me definitely know. I just thought I knew it all. And I wasn't, I didn't live riotously, so to speak, but I just thought I knew it all at 20. The 25-year-old me, from 20 to 25, I had experienced enough to realize I needed to sit down, grab some wisdom from somebody and appreciate wisdom. And around about 23, 24 is when I started to right some of the mistakes that I made from 18, 19, 20 on. And I recognized that if I wanted to live a successful life and a life with family and community, like I needed to fix some things and some broken relationships that, I didn't understand in my immaturity. I didn't understand people's decisions, and I had one viewpoint of their decisions. But when I tell you, life has the way of sitting you down in a masterclass and, preparing you to listen and to hear and to understand, and then to see things from a different view like I said, from about 20 to 23, I had all the lessons that I needed. I was homeless. You know, people say they live in church and they use that kind of as a euphemism, but I literally lived in the church. Took my bath in the church because I didn't have anywhere to go. Dropped out of college. Several cars repossessed, kicked out of several homes. Like I said, homeless, and you know, just with the wrong people. It wasn't riotous. It wasn't, you know, me, you know, in the streets. But it was just several poor decisions that made me go through some things that I didn't. To your point, like certain things you don't have to go through. But sometimes if we're making those decisions in those moments, life has a way of teaching us, you know. And man, I think from 20 to 25, I really didn't smile much. And it was because I had been through so much. And it's funny because we were just this week looking at pictures from when my wife and I were dating. And I just did not smile. And I looked so broken. I was like, wow, that really kind of hit me, because I remember the state that I was in. And so if I were to talk to the younger man that I was, the first thing I would say is be more loyal to God and yourself than people. There's so many decisions that I made because I wanted to please people. And it's a terrible thing when you go against your gut. And not just your gut, but the Holy Spirit as well. It's a terrible thing when you go against him and his leading at the pleasure of people. And, you know, you may seem like you're winning at first, but that's how I landed up. And that's how I ended up being homeless. And, you know, I remember having many times where I was just thinking, I should not be here, you know, and to realize that you're there because of, like Melvin said, every decision has a lifespan. So in that moment, it seemed like a good decision. It seemed like the right path. But then that led to another decision. Then that led to another decision, until you wake up and you realize, you know, I've been trying to please people and not really doing what I need to do for me, and not really letting God lead me. Another thing I would tell my 25-year-old self is take more risks, even when you're afraid. So many opportunities I let slip because of the fear that was there. And I wanted to play it safe. And I didn't want to be embarrassed. I was afraid people would talk about me. I was afraid, and they did that anyway. They did that anyway. But I was so afraid of making a mistake. I was so afraid of being the one to falter, or the one to, you know, just do something that wasn't right, that I didn't take many chances that I should have, that would probably have, you know, led me in a better place. But thank God he's provident, and he knows what we need before we know. And he was able to guide me even in my decisions. Another lesson that I would tell my 25-year-old self, kind of piggybacking off of that one about fear, is that failure is your greatest teacher. So become well acquainted with them.
Yes, sir.
Man, there's so much when you relinquish the fear of failure, There's so much you can learn, and it changes your perspective. So now at 40, I have such a different perspective when I take a risk and it doesn't work out. Number one, it's like I celebrate myself for taking the risk. And then from there, I go into data research mode. Like, what did I learn from this? What did this say about me? What are the gains? What are the losses? Did I, gain some tools? Did I gain some resources in this? So yeah, failure is a phenomenal teacher if you're brave enough to learn from them. And the last thing that I would say is rid yourself of toxic, negative thoughts and people, but rid yourself of toxic and negative thoughts about yourself and others. There were so many times that I let people choose my friends for me and choose my acquaintances for me. And see, what we have to realize is that, we are multifaceted, right? And so there are different groups that we can move through that can benefit us, and that we can benefit as well. That will be legitimate relationships. But sometimes what happens is we let group A get in our ear about who group B is. But group A doesn't have the gifting, the calling, the purpose that you have on your life. And what you need to further perfect what's in you, you can't get from group A. Sometimes group A is a place where you pour, group B is a place where you receive. Right. Many times, to your point, about not knowing how to say yes and no, I spent too much time with people that I had to give to, and not enough time with people who I had to receive from, because I was so different. And I've never been normal.
It's a balancing act.
You can ask my parents, you can ask my wife. Even now, I have never been normal. There's never a place or a group where I'm 100% comfortable in. What I've learned how to become is what Paul says: you become all things to all people that you might win some. And God has given me the ability to move from group to group to group. And many times it's not, to our point, last week and the week before, or last time before, many times it's not for my benefit, but it's because I've had these experiences that have given me wisdom. It's for me to share. And so those are some lessons that I've learned, man. And when you talk about saying no, I say no now more than I say yes. And it's not just for me to be ornery or what have you, but time is the most valued commodity that we have. And you have
somebody gonna have to jump in here.
you have got to use time correctly. You've got to use it correctly. And what I've learned as I've gotten older is that I don't have to apologize to you if you are not a good use of my time.
We're gonna call the brothers up to collect offering at this point.
Is there one?
Will the deacons go ahead and take
the deacons come to collect offering?
Is there one who wants to come by Christian experience, letter of your own personal salvation? Man.
Oh,
Steve dropped a whole revival series on that one, man. That was, man, but that timepiece, when you were talking earlier, you were saying how 20-year-old you probably wouldn't have listened, but 25-year-old you, like, it's amazing how life happens and our
Yes.
view on time changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, up to like 18 to 20, year by year is just happening, right? But like 20 to 25 or like 20 to 27, those years are like dog years. It's like the amount of
Mm-hmm.
development and growth you go through year to year. It's crazy. And then once you get on the other side of 30, it's it's going, it starts to change. And then you get to 40, then you start having a birthday every quarter, and it just starts to go downhill from there.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Some fellas, when we're looking at those at that age, at that time period, Don, you just said it from 20 to 25 or 20 to 27 or whatever. Those are some crucial years.
Oh yeah.
And
Yes.
and especially young men, if you're in that
Yes.
age period. I mean, with me, my mind was all about making money. How
Right.
am I going to make a good life for myself? Because you had to make some decisions during those times, man,
Oh yeah.
Right.
that
Oh yeah.
that you're going to have to live with for a long time. So I was like, okay, now when I asked that question with the 25-year-old listen to you, because we have to mentor 20 to 25-year-olds right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are we going to get them to listen where at times ourselves would be a little bit less agreeable to us, to someone older, giving some advice to. And for myself, I'm a little bit like, I used to listen to older people. I really did, because one thing that I always kind of was afraid of or didn't want to do, I never wanted to be that person that said, if I had a chance to do it over, I would do it like this. So even though right now, even if I even tried to avoid that, there are some things I would have done differently. But at the same time, when I was 25, and we probably ain't gonna have too much time to get into it today. But when I was 25, I had given my life to Christ, and things changed for me. When I was, people was giving me advice. My spiritual father was pouring into me, and I was trying to make every right decision. All I could do is to just listen to other people, because I wanted to be strong in the Lord. And what I did was I did what other people kind of testified in doing. That's praying, fasting, and things of that nature. But that's not everybody's testimony.
No, it's not. Mm-mm.
Right.
It's not our testimony. So I would share as we wrap this up. You asked, what can we do, or will we listen to each other? And what I'm trying to do is I'm having these conversations with my son, who is about to kind of get into that 20-year-old space. One of the things that I'm learning, and I wish those who were advising me at that age would have done, is keep it real. Son, don't do XYZ, because when I did XYZ, this is what happened. Our predecessors didn't share their personal testimonies. Our predecessors didn't share their failures. Our predecessors didn't share their mistakes, or what we said was grown folks' business. They didn't share that. And I think, had that happened, because I'm that type of, I register better with you when I feel like you're keeping it real with me. And so my son is wired like me. And so when I preface the conversation with, hey son, when I was your age and I did such and such, this had a negative result, his ears spark up. He can, that registers with him. So as we're in this space and prepare to mentor to others, as the young folks say, is keep it a buck, keep it 100, keep it real. So
yeah, and real quick, like that's one of the things I was thinking about when you said that, Melvin. Like how do we speak to people who are in that phase of life? And for me, it was remembering my journey, but then taking time to listen to theirs. And I think sometimes we cut our audience off from them being able to receive from us because we nullify their journey because it's not like ours, or because, you know, we were, well, back in my day, you know, this is how I handled, you know, y'all young whippersnappers don't, you know, and it's like,
Right.
okay, that's all well and good, but this brother has a journey and is dealing with several things that I didn't even have to worry about. And so I think what turns our younger brothers and young people in general off is when we nullify their journey. Everybody wants somebody to everybody wants to be heard. Everybody needs somebody to listen to them. And sometimes it's just as simple as doing that and then saying, okay, well, I hear you. And then this is what I went through. This is what I did. Please don't do, you know, these things that I did.
Well, clearly, you know, we're going to have to, this could be 2 segments, 3 segments, probably 4 segments, and we can't pack it all tonight, but so much rich information has been shared on how we could have, what kind of conversations we would have the younger versions of ourselves. So I think this is a good place for us to pivot and call it a session. Thank y'all so much for listening and tuning in to the Real Men podcast. We encourage you to follow us on all social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter at @real_men 2021, IG at Real Men, on Facebook at Real Men Podcast 2021. And you can email us or follow us on YouTube at realmanhood2021@gmail.com. Until we meet again, this is the Real Man Podcast, 4 brothers dealing with real issues, getting through this thing called life. See y'all next time.
See ya.
Bless.
Have a good one.